difference between sympathy and empathy. So you have to know a lot about your team members. So if they're running into issues, you can empathize with them. And empathy means you relate to what's going on in their life, but you draw the line and don't cross over into actually being involved in the drama. If you start sympathizing, that's when you can cross over that line. And now you're in the drama, you're no longer helping.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of More Clients, Less Effort. My guest today is a seasoned leader in the BPO industry with deep expertise in helping businesses scale efficiently through offshoring. Peter is the part owner and brand ambassador at Boomering, top-rated offshoring company based in the Philippines, and plays a vital role in showing how businesses, both small and large, can tap into the exceptional talent pool in the region. Boomering specializes in offering tailored and customized solutions to clients to support the individual and specific business requirements, with over 500 employees serving clients across various industries globally, particularly entrepreneurs and medium-sized businesses. Peter's passionate about creating win-win partnerships between clients and offshore teams, promoting transparency, fairness, and out-of-the-box solutions tailored to each business's unique needs. His approach to offshoring is to build trust, ensuring businesses can scale without the burden of high operational costs, whilst also fostering long-term partnerships. As an advocate of simple and smart offshoring solutions that in providing businesses with the tools and resources to lead them focus on their growth, while Boomering handle the operational complexities. Whether you're a startup or an established enterprise, Peter Rea's insights will offer valuable guidance for optimizing your business process through offshoring. Peter, that's a lengthy but interesting intro. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jim. Pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, it is just after 5 a.m. there in the Philippines, so appreciate you getting up so early in the morning, but you haven't always been a brand ambassador and advocate of BPO or offshoring. So when we talk BPO, we're talking business process outsourcing. Where did you get your start in your working career?
I invested up until 3 years ago. I didn't even know what BPO stood for.
That's probably a beer.
Correct.
A brand of beer.
I'd get off the big ship in Aberdeen, go down to the local pub and order an IPO, which sounds a lot like BPO. So I spent 32 years working at sea, from scuba diving, moving into yacht chartering, yacht management, commercial shipping on big ships, and then smaller vessels as a captain on wind farms. I start with the BPO industry was when I met Dean 9 years ago, because in commercial shipping, I'd work a month, have a month off. Didn't want to live in the UK because I've lived and traveled all over the world. There's no place for me there anymore. I'll always be a proud Englishman. Just don't want to be entrenched over there. Thank you very much. A lot more opportunity here in the Philippines. So I was visiting the Philippines and I met Dean. I think my second trip, we fell into a very, very close relationship, which has been really cool and very sustaining for me professionally and personally. Boomering was started by Dean back in 2017. It was going great guns until COVID, which kind of kicked us all right between the legs and wasn't a lot of fun. Coming out of COVID, the beautiful thing with offshoring is we don't have conversations anymore justifying how offshoring works, because everyone left the office globally and went working from home. It's offshoring, right? You've got a team 3,000 miles away or 30 miles away when your team was at home. So we're not justifying offshoring anymore. So now we're having really strong conversations with people around what we're offering, how we're offering it. Boomering was growing really quick. Dean was looking for investors to help it scale. I was stuck in the UK. He reached out and said, look, I'm looking for investors. Are you interested? And I snatched his hand off and said, yes. How much do you want? When do you want it? Because the lesson here is I didn't invest in Boomering. I invested in Dean. Okay. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons we have within the company itself is its relationship building. People buy people. All right.
It's so true. When we look into investing, sometimes we lose sight of who who it is we're investing in and get focused on the what we're investing in. I want to park that for a moment and come back to something you said a bit earlier, because you've had a career in shipping and naval related industries. What particular skills do you think that you've taken from that? Because as captain of a ship and as crew, it's a very rigorous environment where the captain is the commander-in-chief, celebrant and everything in waters. What skills do you think you've learnt from your naval career that are particularly applicable in business? And which ones aren't?
Great question. I think the most applicable is team building, working with teams. Imagine 45 grown men on a 200-meter ship working 120 miles offshore in the North Sea for 28 days without returning to port. Being able to build and effectively manage teams, from great relationships to managing the toxic, horrible relationships and stopping people from killing each other and bringing all those 40 people home safely to port is
Basically, sort of just
it can't be. And one of the biggest learnings I have is don't let molehills become mountains. Okay. And I've followed this and I've stressed it in every relationship I have with people. If you've got an issue, and it could be something really small that irks you, maybe I don't close my mouth when I'm eating. Okay. Now, for me, it's a small thing. For you, it might be a small thing, but it affects you and hits you emotionally, emotively. Okay. And it's not good. So you need to have a conversation with me about it, because that is making you react negatively towards me. And then you're going to be looking for other negative things about me unless you address it in the first instance. And that's when things build and build and build until you have that volcano moment and relationships can be ruined or violence may ensue.
so that's when you have listening, you're forced off your ship.
You've got to
Animals attached to your ankles, though, right?
So I've passed that message on. I love training. So when I was scuba diving and yacht chartering, I'd do a lot of teaching. I was a scuba diver instructor. So I love imparting information. That's something I really enjoy. And a lesson I wouldn't take is authoritarianism. I've worked with some very, very bad captains who ran exceptionally tight ships, which became exceptionally toxic cultures.
Do you see the same things in businesses? You've got 500 staff, you've got well over 100 clients of Boomering. Do you see the same things when you're working with your clients about the traits of really strong leadership and authoritarian leadership, which is an easy kind of line to cross between the two, isn't it?
No, it is. It's a knife edge. It's a knife edge to walk. But I think one of the easiest ways to walk that knife edge and combat it is by building relationships with the people around you. My father taught me when I was very young that managers manage, directors direct, owners own. Any one of them can be leaders, and leaders need to lead. Now, part of leadership is you have to make more effort than your team. All right. There's lots of different ways you could unpack leadership. Leading from the front by example. I hate people who are do as I say, not as I do. It's a horrible thing to do. When I was working on the smaller boats at wind farms, sometimes we'd have to go in and change an engine, which is a horrible, horrible thing to do. But I wouldn't stay on the bridge and watch my team work. I'd be down there in the bilges and getting dirty and cutting my hands and getting the engine hatch off, getting the engine out, putting it back in. You've got to lead by that example. You have to take time to learn about your team members personally. There's a big difference. If you're having a challenge with a team member, there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy, right? So you have to know a lot about your team members. So if they're running into issues, you can empathize with them. And empathy means you relate to what's going on in their life, but you draw the line and don't cross over into actually being involved in the drama. If you start sympathizing, that's when you can cross over that line. And now you're in the drama. You're no longer helping. My empathetic questions can be as simple as someone's just told me a bunch of stuff. And I go, crikey, that's awful. How can I help? Rather. So I think you need to have that personal connection. You can't cross over into friendship, which is where your slightly authoritative side needs to stay in place, the structure of your company. I think the one of the beautiful things about my relationship with Dean is coming from the shipping and a very masculine dominated industry, I very abrupt, a lot of rough edges. And Dean is super empathetic and personable. And together he's learned to smooth my rough edges, and I've learned to roughen up his too smooth ones.
A personal mantra about dealing with staff, whether there be 1, 2, 10, 50, 500, 5,000, that it's important to be friendly, but not be friends.
Right.
Because I think when you do cross over in that friendship, and we can almost, you sort of lose the sort of respect of authority that you kind of need to maintain, and the air of authority that you need to maintain as well, right? We still need that captain of the ship. We still need someone to defer to that ultimately makes the decision. And I think if you fall into a friendship, it's too much of an equal collaboration, which you can do with your business partners. Now that comes back to my second question there around, your partnership with Dean. What was it in particular about what Dean was building and who Dean is as a person? That I met Dean recently as well. That said, we're mates. We go and have a BPO from time to time down at the pubs. But you said this is someone who want to invest in their vision.
Dean's a builder, and he values people, invests in people, and wants to raise people up. He's very much an investor himself in people. Very, very short part of Dean's story is he was an accountant in Sydney, was sent over to the Philippines to run an offshore team within a BPO, did that really effectively, and then with another gentleman left being a client and started a BPO with this other gentleman. They got it to about 100 staff, and the guy sold it. And Dean went, "Oh, that's interesting." And then I went, let's do another one. So he built it to people and then sold it again. And fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. I think I've got that wrong, but where I'm coming from. So that's when Dean went, "No, I'm not doing this. 'Cause I know what he's doing. You build up to 100 and you can make a nice, tidy profit based on that. But I don't want to do that. I want to build something. I want to build something that's not just good for me, not just good for the clients I service, but good for the people who actually are employed within the company on behalf of our clients." I like to say we have two customers. One customer obviously is the client. The second customer are the team members we employ. And we've actually been working on 2025, and we're going to go on a mission in 2025. We're going to start doing a community project. We're going to be rolling more out of that coming up to Christmas. And the second mission is we want to humanize the offshore industry. There's people who are successful with Boomering are the clients who are always asking the questions, "Oh, how can I bring my team closer? If they do a good job, how can I reward them?" Bring them into the fold, making them part of your whole team. It's not just an arm or a limb. It becomes embedded part of the body.
We're really talking sort of a cultural alignment in the business, aren't we? I think certainly pre-COVID, there was this idea that offshoring and virtual assistant, the idea of a virtual assistant was just a lowly paid employee somewhere in a less fortunate country than our own, that we could throw a bunch of tasks at. There was a pain in the ass, and 6 months later you get rid of them, or 3 months later you get rid of them because they were just annoying. And I mean, I've done it for the last 10 years. I think my lowest paid employee I ever hired was someone in Bangladesh at $1.21 an hour through $1.21 through, I think it might have been through Upwork or whatever it was called, pre-Upwork. And there's lots of sites, right? Like jobs.ph, we got Freelancer, Fiverr, all sorts of things, where we have this idea that if I need a specific task done and I don't want to invest in a resource locally, with all our labour laws in Australia and the US and all those sorts of other things, I can just throw it to someone in the Philippines or in Costa Rica or Thailand or Vietnam or wherever, Pakistan, and get someone to go and do this little kind of job that I don't really want to do. But real clients who succeed get that resource and bring them very much into the culture of the business. And I think this is one thing that COVID has done really, really, really well for contemporary thinking, is that everyone is virtual. They just happen to be in different countries or not, or in different cities or not, or even across town.
Correct. Well, I want to drill in on two things there. Number one, if you've got yourself a receptionist, you're in the office, you're in your boardroom, you're a C-suite director. Where's your receptionist? She's in the room next door. She's not in the room with you. So there's a wall between you. How do you communicate with her? Through a PA, through email. That person is already a remote worker because they're remote in the next room. So it's something as simple as a wall. The remoteness is not the distance. The remoteness is how you are stepped away personally from the person and moving into a digital space to interact and relate with them. The second thing I want to drill in is you, when you were talking before, I like to distinguish between outsourcing and offshoring. Okay, so the outsourcing model is what came out in the 1990s. All big business, banks, big finance groups, instead of spending all this money on customer support in the local country, outsourced it. I remember when I could go to my local bank, speak to the teller, speak to the manager, call the local branch and speak to them directly. And then suddenly I'm one in India. What's going on there? And they didn't do it to save money. They did it to make their stakeholders more money. And they were not concerned about creating a better customer experience. Be damn that. They have to bank with me anyway. They have to use my service. I'm going to just make more money. And they sent that business away and they let the BPO hire, fire, train, have access to their knowledge base. And it was just an arm sent all the way over there. That's outsourcing model. Our offshoring model is absolutely opposite to that. Okay. I want to know not just skills and experience of who you want to employ. I want to know the culture, value, mission, goals of your company. So I can find you people that align with that and embed them in you, get you a really valuable, exceptional person who's going to be a value add to your team and your company.
Yeah, really sort of, again, almost acting more like a recruitment agency that just happens to be in the Philippines, right? We're going to find you some good people that just happen to be in another country, right? Whether they be in another country or another city, it doesn't really matter. To me, it's natural. I've been working remotely for 15 years now, just on 15 years, just under 15 years. And I've always had remote team. And one of the things that we do to really build culture, and I think the points you raised around building culture and visibility and camaraderie, when you do that, it's not just a job and I might slack off and I don't really care about the results. I care more about the paycheck. But as soon as you get a common purpose with other people, it transforms the culture to we're going to work towards something. I run a virtual Zoom room. So this recording is on my Zoom link and our team log in every single day during office hours and we just hang out. And if we need to create a breakout room for a boardroom, we go and create a boardroom. If we need to create a reception, we create a reception kind of on the fly. But I have noticed that because we've got the virtual office, so to speak, to almost assimilate the face-to-face experience, we actually much tighter bonds between people and people want to do it. It seems to I've certainly noticed that we kind of work towards that common goal a bit more effectively than just being like, oh, just, doing my work and then I'll piss off and it's not terribly effective or I slack off for 15 minutes. The boss won't notice because he's not watching me.
We've got a client who runs a shock fit company in Australia. Excuse me. So you take a huge empty retail space, go in with him. He has your vision. He helps design it online, change it all. You go in, you put all the wall, he goes in, put all the walls up, all the cabinets, all the doors. You have this beautiful dental space ready to roll into. Okay. He employs 7 people offshore. And one of his questions was, what can I do to bring my teams closer? And one thing, it's very simple. We gave him a private suite. We put a 50-inch TV on the wall and CCTV camera in the room. So when the team in offshoring looks at the TV on the screen, they can see CCTV of the workshop and the admin buildings in Australia. And the guys in Australia in the workshop and inside the building can look up at screens and see the offshore team working, everybody going to the same. So it's not just design. He makes a design, he builds all this cabinet. 3-4 days later, you could watch the TV and watch that cabinet being built. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, it is. It's getting back to that common purpose. Networking for you is a really important part of your growth. You've done a lot. I don't know, Dean does as well through BNI and other networking groups. What's your approach to networking, and how is that different from you see other people's approach?
Interesting question. When I first started with Boomering, after 3 months, because Dean brought me in specifically to network, after 3 months, I was ready to quit and leave and go. It just wasn't working. I felt like it was a totally wrong move. I felt like a fish out of water, just not good at all. And I mean, really not good. So Dean and another couple of people, Greg Smith, who's one of our clients, who's a consummate networker, had conversations with these guys, and they said, look, where you're falling down is you're trying to represent Boomering. Stop representing Boomering. Just show up as your own genuine, authentic self. Remember the lesson. People buy people. I bought Dean and invested. People need to see me out there networking, not just talking Boomering, but being me, getting to know me, my values. Because if they get to know me and they align with my values, it automatically translates as an owner. Boomering has the same values. Otherwise, I wouldn't be an owner. And then I've been, 3 years in the company, a year and a half in. So towards the end of 2023, I came up with the concept, and BNI call it Giver's Game. I came up with a concept of go out there and be of service, give value. Don't try and sell, just go out there and push value. This is a slow burn.
Yeah, it's not like I need 10 sales this week. And that's my first day on the job. No, congratulations.
Luckily in a very unique position that I can put my time and effort into this, because I've got another 50 people internally within Boomering around me handling all the other departments and looking after. So I know I'm in a very lucky position, which if anything makes me work harder to be of more value to people in networking groups, because I know that I'm not saying it's coming from people, but it comes from myself. I've always been my own worst critic, but I put the onus on myself. I've got to out there, give them and put that value in. So I made the shift of go out there, give. You don't have to just find referrals. You can just connect people. Do you know how easy it is just to go, Tim, I know a lot about you. We've got a great relationship. I'm on a call with someone and they say a couple of things and I'm thinking, ding, Tim's in my head. Don't know why Tim's in my head, but something's nagging me. After the call, I jump on with you. Have a look at this guy. Is this someone you'd like to talk to? Yeah. Cool. I'll just connect you. Job done. I don't know the whole ins and outs of your business or their business. I've just given you the opportunity to explore that together. Okay. So go out there, give, and let karma bring it back to you.
There is a real element of service in that, isn't there? That we can overlook the idea. If we just go out of our way to serve people, we're going to be the relationships that come from that. People will want to serve you back. Not everybody, absolutely not everybody, but most people are kind of like, yeah, Pete's a good bloke. I'll look out for him as a result. And I think if we can embed that into our sales process a little bit more, we're probably going to be benefit longer term.
I think a lot more. I don't want to shuffle off this mortal coil at the end of life. I obviously want to know my family's secure, but I don't want to have tons and tons of money. I'd like to have a lot of people who think kindly of me and go, he was a great bloke. That's going to be a loss. And I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror, look my 14-month daughter in the eye and feel like I am a good person who brings value into the world.
Yeah. You've that value for Boomering and your personal values in that as well translates into your sales process. Now I want to drill into this. I've seen it and it's something different that I haven't seen with a lot of VA agencies or BPOs in the past. You actually open up your spreadsheet and you break down the exact numbers on how much the end worker gets paid and how much the agency gets paid. Talk to me about that process, how you do it and why you do it.
The reason why we do it is to build trust, okay? Trust and win-win relationships. We don't want to rip people. I don't want to jump in, have a 6-month relationship on a project, rip the hell out of you, make my money and walk away. I want you for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Righty. The second reason, the process is, once we'll explain everything down to the peso, the 1 peso. Our standout is we are exceptionally transparent. You don't have to ask us for a breakdown of figures. I'll give you those breakdown of figures. And not just as a client with your invoice, but right from the get-go. When I get that job description, I'll say, right, my recruitment team have told me, based on this job description, a person in the Philippines could demand a salary of between 40 and 45,000 pesos. Okay? Based on that 40 or 45,000 pesos, we have to make all these deductions. Like 13th month is a cool one. In the Philippines, legally by law, everyone gets paid twice their salary in December. So if that person works for you for a year, they get 80,000 or 90,000 in December, not just 40, 45. So rather than hit you with a big bill at the end of the year, I just take a 12th every month. They're entitled to 15 days vacation, 5 days sick. So we accrue for that. But we accrue for that, take the money off you. When the person takes their vacation, we give you the money back. We recredit it. Reason we do that is we never want to surprise you. We don't want your invoice getting bigger. We want to surprise you with your invoice getting smaller. Okay? Which is a nice thing, right?
Yeah.
Then we have tax. We have a company tax. We have a Philippine healthcare. We have private healthcare. They get HMO on day 1 because the government healthcare kind of sucks. And all of this is broken down. And all of these figures are a percentage of their wage. And it's broken down by the peso. And how do I make my money? There's a lovely column that says offshore fee. And at the moment, my offshore fee is 850 Aussie dollars. Okay? I'm not afraid of it. Sometimes we can be afraid of leading with the price because we want to show you the quality that justifies the price. The most important information about that column is it never changes. It's always 850 Aussie dollars. So it doesn't matter how much your team member gets paid, the offshore fee is the same. In fact, if you grow your team to 10 or more, which makes my life easier, I will reduce your offshoring fee. And I've done that for a very, very definitive reason. I want to sit in the middle, impartially, like Switzerland, so I can look after my clients and I can look after my team members. I'm not the BPO that sends you invoices with just a number on it. And then after 6 months, the number increases. And after a year, the number's increased again. Maybe you don't want to pay attention to it. Or maybe if you drill down and finally figure out that the numbers increase, but the poor old team member's not received a pay rise. The BPO's received the pay rise. So nothing is linked to their salary. My only way of making money is the offshore fee.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's, and if you're listening to this, I think it's important to look at how, not so much Pete's process, which I love, and I love the transparency of it, but how Boomering as a company translating their personal values into their marketing. And I think this is a really key thing that we often overlook in business. We get so tied up in the widget that we sell and the value of that widget. But what I love about what you and Dean have done at Boomering, Pete, is really around how you've encapsulated the values of Boomering right throughout your process, from how you attract clients, how you present your value offer, right? And then how you serve clients afterwards. You've got some experience with that as well. But it's so critical and not really done enough about how we translate our values into our sales proposition.
Agreed. I couldn't agree more. It comes down to putting the relations back into business relationships. And there's a huge swing towards this. You can see it across the board. People are talking more about not just mental health care in the workspace, but just generally looking after your people, having relationships with your client. You know this more than anybody. If you can have that really cool, wonderful relationship with your client, then when you turn around and go during a call and at the end, you're like, oh, have you got anyone for me this week? You've been out there talking to anyone? And it's just a natural question to ask, because why would I not want anybody else in their sphere to get the benefit of what they're receiving? If you're shying away from that question, I suggest you go back and have a look at the product and service you're offering, because maybe you don't have 100% belief in it. If you have 100% belief in it, you've got no problem helping everybody else that you already, and everyone, all their friends and everybody. You want to do that.
Yeah, so true. Let's pivot. I'm going to throw a bunch of random questions at you and see how you go. Been in the Philippines for a few years now. What is your favorite Filipino dish?
Favorite Filipino dish? I'm going to say this wrong and my girlfriend will kill me. Bugalog or busalog. It's like a real thin soup with beef stuff in it and cabbage and potatoes. I butchered the word, but that's my favorite. She's so going to kill me.
What gives you the motivation to keep going?
My daughter.
Yeah, actually, I know how important she is, because she is too.
Before that, excitement and myself. Now my daughter, hands down, easy.
Favorite subject at school?
Biology. Very quickly, the only reason it was biology because of the teacher, Mr. Miller. Okay, I remember because I left England and went to a place called the Isle of Man, and I was completely out of place, had no friends to begin with. And Mr. Miller was talking about organisms, like single cell, what the meal. And he said orgasm, and people laughed, and then more people laughed, and more people. What's an orgasm? And then everyone's laughing at me and stuff. And Mr. Miller went, right, everyone, be quiet. Pointed at a guy called Colin Oates, who's like one of my big bullies, and said, Colin, tell Peter what an orgasm is. And Colin didn't know. I got the crap kicked out of me after school. But it was a valuable lesson from Mr. Miller. If you've got a question, don't be afraid to speak up.
That's right. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be? And don't ask the authors.
Holy moly. That's really tough, because my head immediately goes, you don't say anything, you'll mess up what you've got now. And I really like what I've got. Look inside yourself and stop being so angry.
Love that. What's your biggest failure, and what did you learn from that experience?
I dropped out. I always wanted to be a Royal Marine growing up, and everything was working towards that. And I got accepted based on A-level results. And then I got pneumonia and they turned me down. I dropped out of school, went away to Europe for 3 or 4 months, came back. Sometimes I had no idea how I managed to come back. I don't remember half the time that I was there. So I think my biggest failure there is succumbing to the anger and letting myself down.
What's one thing about the success Boomering has had over the last couple of years since you invested that you did not expect?
Last year at the Christmas party, I walked into a room with all these tables and all these people sitting around it. And it wasn't just because the team members get to bring their spouse or a +1. And there was like 450 people in the room. And I just went, oh, bugger me, crying out loud. That's a lot of responsibility. Got to make this work.
Yeah, the weight of responsibility is a leader, right? It's there. You can't escape it.
It's a beautiful weight. It can be a stressful weight, and it doesn't go away. It's there now. It's embedded.
Yeah. What's an underrated tool in your toolbox, do you think, that is indispensable for your job?
My personal toolbox or business tool. The willingness to be abrupt. I think that's an underrated tool. I think my English accent sometimes helps me get away with it. Honestly,
that intentionally get thicker and heavier at that particular point?
Sometimes I used to mimic like that a lot based on where I was. I used to adopt accents where I was locally to help try and fit in. But yeah, so maybe my cheeky English accent to help that abruptness, because I do leverage it sometimes.
Yeah. What makes you a great salesperson?
Belief in what I'm offering. I don't sell. I help people if they want to come and enjoy the benefit.
Yep. All right. Lastly, if you had to, actually, let's do this one. What do you think the world will look like in 5 years' time?
Good Lord above. That is an incredible question. Incredible question. Crikey. So let's forget physically. Let's forget politically.
Yeah.
Emotionally, then I can't envision what it is because there's so much going on. US elections, AI in the sphere, the whole kind of stuff. So my hope when I look at the future in 5 years and what I hope for is less acrimony, less polarizing, more people together in the middle.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Hey, thanks for joining us and sharing your journey and some of the incredible work that Boomering are doing. Guys, if you want to know more about Boomering and connect with Peter, you can reach out at boomering.ph. That's BOOMEING.ph, or Peter at boomering.ph. You can always join Pete and myself on a myriad of different networking events. So reach out and we'll get you onto one of those and learn more about the great work that they do over there in the Philippines. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Tim. I was not looking forward to this and it was highly enjoyable.
Good stuff. Guys, if you enjoyed today's show, please like, share, and comment. And we'll catch you on another episode real soon.